Welcome to today's video. I'll be rating missed weapons. It's just my opinion and how I like them. Honestly, don't take this to heart if your favorite weapon isn't on S tier, but otherwise, don't forget to join modifiers. My guild is recruiting, the link is in description, as so is my Discord where I'm doing events and giveaways. So don't forget to like this video and leave a comment with your in-game name to enter the giveaway. Otherwise, let's get into the video. So let's do the missed tier list. So the first one is the one-handed Arcane. I mean, it is pretty good, it silences for a decent amount of time, it has decent damage. I mean, you can honestly play with it pretty decently, but it's not the best, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. The Battle Axe, I mean, it can kill a lot of people, it is pretty strong. The only problem that I have with the Battle Axe is that it can be easily countered by Frost Staffs or some ranged kind of DPS that can move around fast and kite really well. So it's gonna go into A tier, it's not quite S tier. Against melee weapons, if you choose your fights wisely, it's pretty easy. But, you know, there are some things that do beat it. For the next one I have the bow. I'm gonna put the bow in A tier instantaneously because you can switch your abilities around to fight ranged and melee, but I just feel like this isn't the most fun weapon to play and it's also not the strongest. The longbow will also go into A tier. The warbow will go into C tier. Actually, the longbow will go B tier now, because I feel like these two weapons aren't that good. They used to be used a lot, but a lot of people really just skipped out on them because they're not working as they quite hoped to. The longbow and the warbow actually belong down here because they are pretty shit at the moment. I wouldn't use them if I were you. But, you know, some people have their own kinks, quirks, and I'm not one to judge. So let's move on to the next weapon since we have so many. The light crossbow. Oh, this is a definite S tier. This is just too powerful in my opinion. You can use it very easily to kite. You can change your abilities depending on if you're fighting ranged or melee pretty well. And you can just abuse people with it. The one-shot crossbow will go into A tier though. It is playable, it's pretty good if you play it correctly. If you don't, it's easy to fuck up with it. And also I would not play that. I'd rather go with something more easier, more stronger. So I'd put the one-handed curse staff at S tier because I know that every single person in this game has experienced the rat you get when you see a 4.1 ratting 8.3 kill. Or, you know, just ratting your corpse. I mean, it's going to be your corpse once you see him. But, you know, it's honestly so fucking cancerous. You just see it and you know how your day is gonna end. It's not great, man. It feels like being assaulted. So I have to move on to the next weapon before I get my mind blown by looking at that one singular weapon. I'd put the Cursed Skull in B tier. I don't think it's that good really. I just see a lot of... Now on to the Cursed Skull. I don't think it's that good, but I'm gonna put it in C tier actually. It's pretty decent, you know, but I think a lot of people don't know how to play it and what to fight. They just fight and didn't, so that's why it's going there. But now the Great Curse. I think it's pretty decent. It's going into B tier. It has a lot of abilities and I mean it is pretty usable, pretty fightable against most things. But now, on to my next weapon, my favorite one, the Bloodletter. It's going into S tier. The thing is with this, is it's S tier, but it's really difficult to hit it C if you're fighting a ranged person or just a good kiter. Because if you miss your read, that's basically your death certificate. If you don't hit it, you can basically sign out already. You're not gonna get away, you're not gonna do anything anymore. Unless you're going A3 like Coco or Swole Benji in the yellow zone. I would rather use Bloodletter than a one-handed curse staff because I'm not a bitch. The next weapons are the Death Givers. So this is also going to be S tier. I feel like the daggers, Bloodletters and... So I feel like the daggers are pretty strong. I mean, you can literally 1v1 pretty easily. I mean, these weapons were made for it. So it's pretty easy to just kill someone with Death Heroes because you can just stack up your Q, stun them with your W and just execute them. I mean, it's easy as that. But now we have the Brimstone. The Brimstone is a controversial weapon. I'm gonna have to put it in S tier, but actually the cast time is pretty slow, so it's A tier. Actually the other abilities aren't that good as well, it's B tier. I mean, depends on what gear set you use, it's mostly C tier. Actually, it doesn't do enough damage, it's gonna be D tier. I mean, it's a pretty shit weapon, why the fuck would you use this in the mist, you have to be retarded. But the next staff is the wildfire staff, it's going into A tier, it's pretty strong, all fire staffs are pretty strong. So you can actually change your abilities depending on what enemy you're facing. The fire staff has a lot to offer, so it's pretty good to use in my opinion. So actually the death givers I have to be on A tier, I can't put it up there with the blood leather and light crossbow. But the normal fire staff is going into B tier. I feel like it's just not as strong as the wildfire, but it is still usable and pretty decent in combat. You know, I wouldn't use it since, as I said, I'm not a pussy, but it is still fightable with. So the next weapon is going to be the frost staffs. I did use the frost staffs a lot, well, not a lot, but a decent amount. So it's going into S tier. It's one of the best kiting weapons in the game in my opinion. You don't need to be full spec like 100 on it just for it to do enough damage to kill someone, because I kited for like 20 minutes without killing the enemy. But I mean, it worked out in the end, right? So it was kind of good. But if you kite wrong, or if you don't know how to kite or get greedy, you can basically say GG, goodbye, because as I said, you're not making it out with this weapon. You're gonna get chased with gloves or with a double-bladed staff. The chill howl is going into A tier. I think it's still good as a frost staff, but the one-handed frost is better, so I can't put it on the same level. I'm just pulling it down a bit. Its E ability is really strong, but you know, the one-handed frost is the weapon I would use if I go for frosts. But I mean, this one's decent as well. So the next weapon, the battle bracers, is going into C tier. I think the battle bracers aren't that good anymore. The hellfire hands are better, but they are still good for mobility if you are just ratting the mists and trying to loot. That's why it's going into C tier. I don't like rats. Let's move on to the other gloves. Hellfire hands. The hellfire hands surely have to be on A tier. I think they do a decent amount of damage. If you play them correctly, they're an S tier weapon. But a lot of people miss something or play like shit, so that's why it's going into A. I haven't seen a good Hellfire in the longest time, that's also another reason. But you know, you can be the first one if you actually play the game. Next we have the Fallen Staff, with Smite on it and basically a W as damage as well. I think you can put it on some kind of damage, if not, you know, it's still fine. Only Smite and other abilities are heals. You will stabilize yourself for a long time, you won't die, you can just kite and kill the enemy slowly, but since it is a shit weapon, it's going into D tier. You know, it is something that some people use, but I wouldn't do it. And now the Night Boots, this going into B tier, because it is kind of decent, and I mean, you can get a shield if you dash to an ally with it. Actually, you know what, let's put it in D tier. Now the one-handed mace, I've only seen Coco use it I think, with an 8.4, unless it's 8.4 and you don't choose matchups, if you go to fight every random bitch that walks up to you, this is going into C tier definitely. I wouldn't use it honestly, it's pretty shit in my opinion. But you know what's better? The Great Nature, it's going into B. The Great Nature has a lot of abilities just to escape with it. You can press your Qs to stack on top of you, or you can change your Q to DPS to damage the enemy. You pop your E onto yourself, and if they hit you, you heal yourself. I mean, it's pretty much just an infinite rotation, right? Also, I feel like the best weapon in this lineup is the double-bladed staff. It has the most mobility, decent damage. Also, you can literally do anything with it. You can kill mobs, you can kill players, you can farm. You can literally do anything. Gank with it if you really want. That's why it is in S tier. Your E is a fast jump or like a fucking dash. Your W gives you more movement speed. Your Q, I mean, you can also go for movement speed, but I go for area damage. I mean, it's just that good. I use it a lot as well in the mist, so that's why I'm rating it there. But now the quarterstaff, this is going into C tier. Quarterstaff is pretty shit in my opinion. You missed the each GG. You can't do shit about it basically. But, you know, it is still kind of usable if you do want it. But now the Daybreaker on the spears. The Daybreaker goes into B tier. No, C tier. I feel like it does have its own usability against some kind of enemies. But, you know, most of the matchup it's just going to get abused, both sexually and mentally, and I would not use it personally. That's why I would grab the pike that will go into B tier, because, the pike is pretty decent, it does a lot of damage, you have a chance to catch, for example, the frost staffs and shit, but the best spear, the normal spear, it's going into 8 tier. I think it has a lot of mobility, a lot of damage, you can basically catch everyone apart from the double-bladed staff, and you can do a lot of damage just to kill those daggers or any kind of melee DPS, but also there are the swords, the 2 left. I'm gonna rate the dual swords first into B tier, because they do a lot of damage, but if you play correctly against it, they are basically useless, you can't do shit to your enemy, but it does a lot of damage if you play it correctly, as I said, but the enemy also can't know how to play, otherwise you're cocked. Now the carving sword is going on to S tier, because the carving is just that strong, you can pierce your enemy, duel them basically 1v1 style, and fucking abuse them. You dash, bash and kill. I mean, pull his pants down and just put it in. It's basically that easy. You don't really need that much skill to play it. Well, actually you do, but it has a small entry skill gap, so I would play it if you're just starting out in the mists and you've just played a couple of sets already. It is a bit on the expensive side, but that shouldn't be a problem, since if you're looking at this video, you're probably not a starter. Or maybe you are. Honestly, I don't charge. Thanks for watching the video. My Discord is in the description. Also the modifier skill is recording, that's also in the description. Join my Discord just for the giveaways and events that will be happening there. Otherwise, just see you later, alligator. Check out my other content.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
Twilight and the beautiful sea, I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky.